Greetings from Costa Rica, folks, and welcome to this Costa Rica Real Estate Forum number 24. With a new format, we'll be premiering videos about the critical real estate topics rather than being live. I will be watching and chatting with you, so if you have any questions, do be sure to put your questions in the comments. Today, our topic is the critical aspects of houses in Costa Rica that make them comfortable, durable, and importantly, sellable. We'll be looking at an example home right behind me that coincidentally we have listed for sale, and we'll be talking about the critical questions you should be considering if you're evaluating a home in Costa Rica. We'll go over everything from the construction style to the floor plan to the porch. Stay tuned. Greetings from Costa Rica, and welcome to this discussion of the critical questions about houses here in Guanacaste that make them comfortable, durable, and sellable. First of all, let's start by talking about the construction style itself and the materials used. There are a lot of construction systems coming into Costa Rica now. However, my favorite for durability has to still be reinforced concrete construction, which this home is. You're seeing systems that are Coven tech, where people use panels that are actually a spray substance that gets layered on for the walls. You also have steel frame construction with other kinds of walls that use Durarock and other materials. However, the tropics, as we'll see repeatedly, are brutal in their humidity, the sun, the rain. You need an absolutely durable material, and concrete here in Costa Rica has proven the test of time for obvious reasons. It also has a huge advantage that in being the most basic, typical construction technique that everybody's been working with for decades, Ticos know how to build concrete homes, and there are less mistakes made when you've got guys working on your site who have done the same thing 30 or 40 times versus guys who are learning some sort of new construction type. So for me, importantly, a concrete home is always going to be the most durable. Next, let's talk about parking here in Costa Rica, and one of the things I love about this home is that it has covered parking, which, yes, I feel is essential to a home here, but they didn't waste a ton of money building a very fancy garage. The temperature here year-round never gets below 75 degrees, so keeping your car warm and inside isn't 100% necessary. Whenever I see people who have built homes that include garages, I think, wow, that garage could have been an apartment here in Costa Rica. Construction is so basic to begin with that if you're gonna enclose a garage, you basically have a house here that you could use as square footage of living space. So this kind of structure for parking is the only thing you need. It's made out of steel. The welders can come and put these structures together extremely fast. You only have tin or steel roofing rather, and the whole structure is a lot cheaper than if they would have tried to integrate this into the house. So I highly recommend, if you're buying in Costa Rica, consider just doing a parking structure rather than a garage. And importantly, because we have a lovely rainy season here for 6 months, make sure that you have covered access to the house. That can be so critical in October when you might be bringing groceries home in the middle of an outright downpour. Quickly, I also wanted to touch on the roofing for homes here in Costa Rica as well. You'll see lots of people who only want to have that Spanish-looking clay tile on their roofs here to capture that sort of rustic look. I wanted to mention that those clay tiles are primarily aesthetic. They also work to keep out a lot of heat from the roof and aid in the waterproofing, but Spanish clay tiles are not necessary, and anytime you have the Spanish clay tile, you still have to have a metal layer beneath it, as well as the typical insulation and ceiling, etc. So Spanish clay tile, yes, it keeps out a ton of heat, but it also can create little animal habitats, areas for junk to get in between your metal and the clay. And you're seeing a lot of roofing materials that are different than what used to be available here in Guanacaste. This home has something that looks like Spanish clay tile, but it's actually an asphalt composite. You could see how this material would not have the huge disadvantage of cracking anytime someone sets foot on it. That Spanish clay tile, yeah, if you have a branch over the house or a mango tree, or you try to repair them, very easily they crack, and virtually the only thing you can do to avoid that is replace them with time. Let's step over to the house itself and talk a little bit about security. You will notice that this home does not have bars on it, and here in a gated community, you actually don't have to have bars on your home. That's especially true when really you don't have gadgets in the place that could be a lucrative opportunity for one of our local thieves of opportunity. There's virtually nothing of interest in here that someone might try and sneak in and get. Yes, if there was a beautiful TV or you had laptops, that's when bars become a bigger concern and making sure that no one can easily sneak in. But really, in a home where you don't have people and those vulnerable opportunities, you can make do with a security alarm. And that's all that this home has. They can arm it when they're not here. It makes a huge sound that guards can come and check out when if there's anything that happens, and that is sufficient. This owner leaves the home completely unattended for months at a time, and between the security alarm and the presence of guards that are patrolling the neighborhood, really they don't have to worry about some of the problems you may have heard about. Let's talk about utilities, and specifically in Costa Rica. In your kitchen, you are never ever going to see gas lines in Costa Rica. This is not a country with natural gas as a utility that's provided. You have water, electricity, and internet brought to your house. A lot of people choose to work with electric stoves and appliances as a result. It's extremely easy to do gas stoves and ovens as well. We have those grill bottles of, I think it's propane. You can easily hook them up to most of the appliances they sell here in Guanacaste. And for example, to convert this stove would be as easy as running a line outside, hooking up that bottle on the other side of the wall, and you can change out those bottles very easily at one of the 15 different small shops in town that sells those. I definitely find that for purposes of resale, a lot of people tend to be more interested in gas appliances these days. Induction is now available in Costa Rica, but by and large, you can make your customers a bit happier with gas than electric, but obviously it'll involve the bottle setup. Now let's talk about a couple features of the home that make it extremely comfortable. You'll notice here that we have very high ceilings. It can't be stressed enough what that does for the ambient temperature in a house in Costa Rica. Really, by allowing yourself space in your main living room, you have the opportunity to get away from the warm air. We don't have AC in this main living space or kitchen here in this particular home, and that's completely fine because you have high ceilings. You also have great airflow where we could open up doors on both sides of the home and get a cross breeze. But very importantly, we have shade on the lot. As we were standing outside, you could see there's tons of trees surrounding the home, and that brings the temperature down. They have that composite asphalt roof that I'm sure keeps out a ton of solar energy. And then inside here, they've created this bright, airy, breezy space that is 100% critical to making it comfortable. You could also add AC into this main living room. It'd be a simple project, and that's something in Costa Rica that's only going to cost you $2,000 or $3,000 for a larger AC, or even less if we're talking about a bedroom. So it's pretty easy to add on mini splits, which are virtually the only air conditioning system used in Costa Rica, to a main space like this. But if you've designed it well, you really don't have to. A lot of people might really decide not to include it in the main space because your renters will drive up your electric bill turning it on constantly. An absolutely important critical feature of this house is this wonderfully open floor plan. I don't think I necessarily have to talk about that in the context of Costa Rica. I'm sure that pretty much everywhere people are switching to open floor plans, and in Costa Rica that's certainly the case. But back here you have a must-have room in your Costa Rica home. The porch back here is where you will end up spending most of your waking hours and where anybody who moves to Costa Rica hopes to spend their time. Critically, this is not just an outdoor covered porch, it's screened and even glassed in because this owner knows, she wants to be on this porch at all hours of day. There are certain times of day, first of all, when you're going to get more bugs and an outdoor porch wouldn't be viable. There are other times of day when no matter how much shade you've got around your property, it's going to be hot in Costa Rica. So if you want to be on your porch, you're going to need AC, and that's why they went with the glass windows here. Obviously, we could open up everything on this porch and be sitting outside, but this, what would be in the US sort of a 3-season porch is actually a 365-day per year living space in Costa Rica. If your home doesn't have this kind of space to enjoy, you won't enjoy Costa Rica as much as possible. It definitely won't feel like being here in Guanacaste and really enjoying the nature that it has to offer. And frankly, when people someday come to look at your home on the resale market, you will have a lot tougher time selling than homes like this Casa Marianti here in Tierra Pacifica, which by the way has close to a 2-acre lot, which by the way is listed for only $430,000 and is sold absolutely turnkey. If you want to know more about Casa Marianti, be sure to send me an email to matt@costaricamatt.com. Thanks for joining me.